The mission today is to sharpen your swords and get you ready for battle. It's time to fine-tune your craft and make you the best in what you do. The mission is to equip you to help anyone purchase what they need. We'll share the best advice from the best in their industry. You'll be listening to a conversation you wish you had with the mentors you wish you had. Take what makes sense to you and makes you better in your career. You guys, Bruce Lee said it best. Absorb what is useful and discard what is not.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Commission Mission. My name is Eric Gerace.
Hey everybody, I'm Micah Henderson. Super excited to be bringing you an awesome guest today with a ton of wisdom, and everybody's going to get a lot out of it. Brian McKittrick, thank you for coming on the show. International best-selling author of It Ain't Rocket Surgery, 21 Simple Tips to make sure your sales go to the moon. Brian, you've started your sales professional, being a sales professional and a leader for 20 years now, starting in 1999. And what I thought was impressive is a lot of people don't have a stellar year one, but you came right out of the gate knocking it out of the park.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yes, it's crazy to think I've been doing something for over 20 years. Makes you think of what your actual age is.
Yeah. So
our producer just referenced something that from a really old movie from 1988. I was like, man, that's the year I graduated high school, dude. Come on, man.
That's funny. Really old movie. I was 10 when that came out.
Yeah. So something that we all have in common to different degrees is the insurance industry. And I think you a little bit more than I, and me a little bit more than Eric. But when it comes to helping people purchase what they need, there's certain things that are, universal principles across the board. If you're sitting down with somebody and you're trying to, I've heard you refer to it, Eric, as, finding their pain and solving it that way, or, making sure that they have what they need, which is why they contacted you, or maybe why you contacted them. You've trained a lot of agents coming up, throughout the years, and
I have, yeah.
That you've worked in retail, you've worked in car sales. What started you in sales in 1999, and what led you to insurance?
So it's funny. I don't think a lot of people, when they're growing up, think I'm going to be an insurance agent. Maybe my son might be the first one that comes up saying that as like his dream job. But like a lot of people in sales, you just kind of found your way into it. So I grew up in a fairly poor home, broken family, and sales for me was the chance to write my own paycheck. My first commission job, I very quickly figured out the amount of production needed to hit the income number that I set for myself. And this number just came out of nowhere. No one came to me and said, hey, you need to make blank amount of money. I just started calculating and figured what I wanted to make.
Reverse engineered it a little bit.
I'm sorry?
You reverse engineer it. They say, how much do you want to make? Okay, let's boil it down to the activity and start your funnel.
Right, exactly. Yeah, chapter 8 of my book is dedicated to that. And that's what, you go backward. You go, like, you think about sports, there's no such thing as a touchdown play. You take the series of steps needed and take those actions needed to score a touchdown 10 yards at a time. So that was my first inclination to say, let me figure that out. And so that's what I did. And my goal just happened to be higher than my competitors within my store or in the industry or in the company even. And I'd outperform people based upon my own goal. I'm not really motivated by beating the other guy. I'm motivated by hitting my own number.
Kind of beating yourself, beating the person you were yesterday and getting a little bit better at it. And exactly. I always kind of use the same analogy of when I'm having a conversation with somebody and moving the ball down the field. What is the next step that I need to do to move towards that goal? And, is it setting that first appointment? Is it gathering information? Is it following up? Is it, talking to the underwriter to get over whatever hurdle that is to move everything just a little bit further down the field, closer to that touchdown?
Exactly. Yeah. It's really about getting your client to the next step. I think people the average salesperson would overcomplicate sales. Essentially, it's matching a product or service to the client's needs and budget.
Yeah.
It's only a few words to describe what sales really boils down to. And that doesn't matter whether you're selling a house, an insurance policy, a mortgage, a boat, a car, it doesn't make a difference.
Yeah. And they, I'm sure you've heard, explain your product as if you're talking to like an 8th grader. Mm-hmm. Right. The opposite of that is explaining it as if you're talking to a colleague in the industry. You know, we don't need to get into the weeds with, interest rates and exactly how things work behind the scenes. Right. Because that's just going to confuse somebody. Confused people don't make buying decisions. So let's just keep things, pretty simple, and move things down the field that they're not, people aren't going to be an expert in the reason why they're coming to you, right? You're that's what they have you for. You're the expert in that field on their team, and as long as you have their trust, they're going to take your word for it for the most part. You're going to solve their pain point, and then they can move on with their lives. But I always just want to be able to answer all those questions fluently to really give them even more trust in me being their guy.
Right. You don't have to take clients through a lot of mumbo jumbo or a lot of technical stuff. I've heard it once being said that you don't sell the drill, you sell the hole. Realistically, the client is coming to you to accomplish a problem. And the problem is, I need to hang a flat panel TV on the wall. I need a drill to do it. You're not selling the drill, you're selling the solution of this is how the TV's mounted on the wall.
Sell me this pen, Oh, all right, well, sign your name here. Oh, you can't do it? Buy the pen. No, but so what did you like more at this point? Do you like your own production, or do you like helping people get started?
So recently I read the book, I should have been a couple months ago, I read the book, The One Thing by Gary Keller. If you haven't read that, I highly recommend it. That's Gary Keller of Keller Williams. Mm-hmm. He's one of the founders of Keller Williams Realty. But he talks about the one thing that you're good at, one thing that you do really well, your superpower. And then secondly, what's the one thing I can do at this moment to have the most impact in my goal today, this week, this year, on down the line. From there, he expressed that his main talent was to educate. And as a salesperson, he educated his clients. As a sales manager, he educated his team. As a business owner, he's educating a group of teams. So that really hit home with me. I do a training course as well as running an insurance team. And I think that actually that's my superpower, is educating. And I have a tendency to make the reason why my book is called It Ain't Rocket Surgery is it's about keeping things simple. So I have a tendency to take a complicated matter and explain it in a very simple way. When I'm talking to a client about a health plan, what that really comes down to is how much they're going to pay per month, how much do they need to pay at a doctor, and how much is it going to cost them for something if something big was to happen. And some people have more questions than that, but those are the big three that need to be answered. Yeah,
and what that product does, and that. A lot of times that budget is one of the big ones that we run into a hurdle with some clients. And, once again, whether you're selling whatever, that budget is going to be important, whether they can afford it or not. And something that I'll kind of use a little bit of language is, okay, if I could solve this problem for you for $5 a month, would it be worth it for you? Well, most of the times, yeah, I can swing that. Okay. What if I can solve this problem for you for $5,000 a month? They're like, no, absolutely not. Well, that tells me that there's some number in between there that's going to work. We just need to iron out and figure out exactly what that number is that you can afford, that you're not going to have a problem with what I'm trying to solve for you. So if it's something that your family actually needs, or if it's a luxury item, something you're going to have fun with, or maybe it's an investment, there is some number that's going to be a right fit. So let's figure what that is, and then I can kind of back into the product from there.
Right. That comes into building value. Everyone has a perceived value of this product or service that they're buying. For instance, if I were to come to you and say, hey, the brand new Lamborghini just came out, it's $300,000. There are people that would jump on that and people that wouldn't. Right. But the people that wouldn't, let's say, okay, well, if you can't do 300,000, I fully understand that. What if I did it for 50,000? And they'll go, well, yeah, absolutely. Now you've got this incredible deal. But there's I talk about this in another chapter of my book about building value. There's a line of the customer's expectation. When you start to build value and the value is over the price that they're willing to pay for it or the price that's in their budget, then it's a good deal for them. If they can talk about the value higher than what they have to spend, that's when they jump on it. But if the price is higher than what they perceive the value, you don't have a sale there. So, and that's a varying degree for each person.
Yeah, you have to pick up on that.
Yep.
And because you don't know what expectations they're having walking into your world, but are there certain steps that you can do as the salesman to better align their expectations with reality? So they're coming in here and saying, hey, this needs to take care of every one of my problems, and you need to do it for $19.95 because I saw that on a commercial. Okay, right. But that's not real life, or maybe that's real life for someone else, but that's not real life for your situation. Applying that to, say, life insurance, we'll have somebody that sees a commercial for $9.95, and then I'm going to explain, hey, you're morbidly obese, you have diabetes, you had a heart attack last night, you have, and so that's not your situation. What's a tactful way to set expectations?
You're assigning a solution to the problem that the customer has.
Yeah.
So if your product or service solves that problem, then it has value. If you start rattling off features only cost money. Benefits have value.
Yes, and I've heard that stated sort of different ways. The difference in between benefits and features, and when to lead with either.
One of the most powerful statements I tell my sales guys, when they are going to present a product, I always have them start with the statement, well, this is the product, or this is the plan, or whatever the solution, what you want to call it. This is the plan I recommend for you, and here's why. You said you needed blank. This plan will do this, and that solves their problem. Like if you wanted maternity coverage, this plan has maternity coverage. Oh, okay, cool. That's going to build some value.
Using their own words.
Using their own statements of what you found to be important to them.
Yeah.
That's what we call it, a hot button. I've learned that over the years with a hot button. And that button, if you press it over and over and tie that together, it shows that you're listening, but it gives them value in what they're buying because that solution has been solved.
Oh, so that's really good. And a lot of times on the show, we'll talk, on huge concepts. We'll talk about value. We'll talk about, something more specific, like, following up, but something even more tangible that they can use on a day-to-day basis is something like a hot button and picking up on what's important to them and why that works. Any other, bit of language, any other, great phrase that you use that's effective. One thing that I'll use towards the end of an appointment, or even once the sale has been made, is just letting them know, hey, call me if you need me. And then, here's my card, don't keep me a secret, something like that. The phrase of call me if you need me is so simple, but it says, hey, I'm there for you, but also I'm not setting a certain time and expectation of me following up with you. I'm not saying, hey, I'm going to call you in 2 weeks just to have one more thing on my to-do list for that day, because our transaction is complete. I will most likely follow up with you in a year's time and do a review. Hey, is this still matching your needs? But it is not setting an expectation of me coming to see you. I'm here if you need me. Hey everybody, this episode of Commission Mission is brought to you by Bill Kramer Chevrolet.
When this baby gets up and running, you're gonna see some serious stuff. But do we have enough gas? Where we're going, we don't need gas. Will, what the hell are all these chargers? The question is not what the hell are these chargers, Chris, but when the hell are these chargers?
Will, are you telling me we're adding state-of-the-art charging stations and upgrading our entire electrical grid for electric vehicles?
Yes, but the future now.
Is there any other, powerful sort of language that you use?
Yeah. What about language, but making yourself available. So I think it's a good idea to have what I call a digital business card. So you can use a simple website for that, but having it to where the client can get information on what you sell, as well as having where they can book you and have your contact info, that goes a long way. So I frequently get referrals and communications through social media. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times I'll get a DM that says, hey, like I got one this morning that says, hey, I'm looking for this particular insurance type. My reply back is always, oh, I'd be happy to assist. I say the word assist, not help. People don't want help. They want to be assisted. So I'm their guide through it. So I'd be happy to assist. Here's a link that will allow you to book a phone call and you can get information online. And I give them the choice of what they want to do. And many times, a couple of moments later, I'll see them having got into my form and gotten the information that they were looking for. And then after that, they book a phone call. So I'm simplifying the process. So I'm down to, when I do have somebody on the phone, I know that they're interested. I know they have information up front, and the calls go much quicker and much easier.
Keep it simple.
Yeah, I do that with my real estate business. I love Calendly and Google Calendar and Zoom. Those three work really well together. You can block off time for yourself, so you don't have things scheduled at times when you don't want them scheduled. And like you said, I use my website for that. So my website has all the information that the clients would need. And then if they needed more information from that, there's always a button where they can schedule a call with me. But I use Calendly to schedule a call and not just have someone just call me randomly. Because sometimes, even depending on where they're coming from when they schedule that call, what type of call they're scheduling, they might get a few questions asked of them when they schedule the call, which gives me even more information that I need to have a really successful, effective call, which usually means it's brief. It's not a big, long, drawn-out thing because we know exactly what we're here on the call for. We have exactly what we're going to talk about, and you've answered some of the questions. Here's the information that you need, and we move forward really quickly. But what that does in the customer's eyes, too, is put you at this epitome of expert, of, technology, of all these things that you're really well grasped of, and it gives you that view of coming from the position of authority.
Right. Well, I mean,
a lot of times salespeople might be worried about, I don't want to share too much information. They won't need me. I found the opposite to be true. If I show them the information all up front, people are shopping online anyway. Mm-hmm. If you put the information already out there, you're one of the very few that actually will do it. So they're more likely to have a conversation with you, in my opinion. Even
to the point of sending the quote, this is what I got. I'm going to show you, everything that I have, not as opposed to enticing them to be curious, wanting to know more, setting that one-on-one appointment where you can guide them into signing on the dotted line.
Right. So in the insurance world, a lot of times people say, get a quote on their website. And it's not really a quote. What they're doing is putting their contact information in, and then the agent will call them. The downside is agents want to work like 10 to 4 Tuesday and Thursday and spend the rest of the time at the golf course. So they're forcing the client to have a conversation on their time. I flipped that. I'm going to go ahead and you can actually get a quote through my website. I just made a simple connect.brianmckitrick.com, and it's my link at the top. Little information about me. They can get a quote on health or life insurance right then and there. I've had people get in there and they even go through, even do an application because they want to shop online. They want to live online. So meet them where they are first, and then you can move it to a phone call, which many times we end up on a phone call anyway, but I can control my time, but I give them the option of what time they want to pick.
And I like the fact that you said meet them where they are, because I think that's what happens with a lot of new and struggling salespeople, commission-based people, is that they are trying to force their clients to come up to them and meet us where I am. And that's not how you have a successful business. It's understanding your client's pain and meeting them where they are. If your client talks quick and fast and short, and that's how you have a conversation with your client. If your client wants, hey, how are you? How's your sister? How's your mom? That's some small talk that you have. Yeah, but you meet your clients where they are, and still hold that position of authority in your arena for what you do. I think is what leads to a much more successful sales.
Yeah.
It's much more beneficial to be malleable. Can you do sales via phone? Can you do sales in person, via Zoom, via email, via direct message? Make yourself available for all that.
Yeah. However they like to communicate, and even tying that back into setting an appointment, that's so basic but so important to be able to talk to people one-on-one, to lead them to doing business with you as opposed to a competitor that I'm just now discovering, Calendly, that I am still using much more old school methods, and at first you're trained to say, hey, is Tuesday morning at this time or Thursday afternoon at this time better for you, giving them illusion of choice, but really you're only given two. I'm much more honest with my schedule. I will let them know when I'm available, more of like a span of time, but I'll lead them to, picking earlier in that span of time or later in that span of time, because I need to set other appointments besides just them, and it'll be easier if I have theirs set either at the beginning or the end. But a lot of times, because I'll work in Medicare as well, and a lot of those folks, they don't have an email address, nevertheless a Calendly or anything like that. So I really am, letting them know what times I'm available to either do something on the phone or meet at the office. But it's so important to set that appointment with confidence and letting them know that you're there and you have all the abilities to take care of them. But we just have to find that time to sit down and get it done. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So in between setting an appointment and moving the ball down the field, you have that first appointment now. You are going through with them what their need is. So I think it's natural that I always just go back to my business and how things are. So whether it is, and I saw you also work in property as well?
I do that just for Texas. I'm appointed through, I do life, health, and Medicare for the entire country. Yeah. But you don't need to go as broad for property coverage, because realistically, any building you see, any car you see, any house you see is a potential client.
That's right.
So much more likelihood of writing people.
Not a lot of people do that, but you and I do. I do property. I do, I insure people. I insure things. But those really are two different sides of the insurance world that they really do. That the process is different. But so you're sitting down, you're talking to somebody about their need, and let's just focus on life insurance. Okay. So when it comes to gathering information, no matter what you're selling, you're gathering some sort of information. What do you like to use? Do you just use a piece of paper? Do you use a fact finder? Do you do everything on your computer? Papers are going to get lost. It's good to have it in your CRM, but I also, sometimes it takes, it depends on your computer, your speed of the computer, the speed of the CRM. I actually have a writing tablet called Remarkable. This thing has been fantastic. It's probably my single most favorite purchase in the last year. It's remarkable.
This, I'm able to put my fact-finding PDF in here, go through it, and then upload that to my CRM.
And it's like a tablet?
Yeah, it's called Remarkable. So
Micah,
just for writing. So this replaces.
I've never heard of it.
No, I'm just saying this is huge. Like Micah is now finding his new favorite item because he is old school. He writes everything down in notebooks. But this, and look at, he's got one of his notebooks right here.
Yeah. See, the downside of the notebooks is they get lost, and you write that paper that's scrap. I mean, that happens from time to time.
So we just went through something like this.
Well, yeah. But these little ones that I have, I have every one. I probably go through 3 or 4 a year. I got every one. But I have other notebooks of varying size for different purposes, and yes, those get lost or those get
all
scribbled
in one
on.
Spot, Mike, can you imagine?
I know, all in one spot. Yeah. Well, instead of the other less efficient answer to this is to write out the fact finder and then scan it. And then put it in the shred it box, to get taken out. But that's a lot more efficient.
Yeah, you're able to just save it. It goes right to a cloud. That they can take that to your CRM. But when I do, and during the fact finding process, I actually I think it's a really powerful. I learned this years ago in retail is ask permission to ask questions. So when I get my client calls on the phone, it's like, hey, and they tell you what their need is, life insurance, health insurance, whatever it is. I'll say, okay, I'll be happy to assist. I do have a few questions for us to go through. So I need to ask you a couple of things. We make sure we have the right solution for you. Is that okay? And by asking permission to ask questions, it does two things. It sets the expectation that you're going to go through some stuff. It also, they are giving you permission because when you're dealing with life and health, you could ask some pretty sensitive information, health history, family history. Some people are very on guard with a condition they might be going through. You're asking financial history stuff too, or financial stuff. So I let them know it's private, just between them and me. But by asking permission, you open you up to get it more personal. And
it's one of the yeses you're getting on your way to 7 yeses. So
there you go.
Sure.
It's one of the steps, and it's a really and in that case too. What I really like about it is it takes commission breath away. You pause for just a slight moment to ask their permission for something. Takes away, hey, I'm not chasing a sale. I'm here to help you.
Yeah,
is what that really says.
Assist even.
Yeah, I'm here to assist you.
Yeah, I like that too.
Sure to assist. Yeah.
So
people like having guides. They don't like having helpers.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So now that we've gathered all the information that we need to, and working independently, you have access to many different companies. Maybe you have one or two that you have in mind, but you need to double check. A lot of times when it comes to property, we have access to the underwriters, and that may be a process. Do you try to knock everything out in one appointment, or do you gather information, do homework, set a second?
If I'm doing a health, life, or Medicare plan, I go through everything ideally in one call. I'm not going to hammer someone. I'm fully understanding if someone says, well, my wife and I need to talk it over. Okay, that makes sense. But I'm going to recommend the one solution that I see fit. And I let them know, okay, I do have access to all plan types based upon what you said and what I perceive your needs to be. This is what I recommend, and here's why. So I'm giving them this solution that fits. If they want to come back and say, hey, we want something a little different, or there's something we don't like about it, that's fine. But I'm not going to pressure somebody into a one-call close, although ideally I go through everything with them, because there's really not much I can't go through in a 15 to 30-minute phone call.
Well, with auto and with Medicare, that most of the time it is a one appointment sort of transaction. That
sure.
I've gathered all your information. I've applied it to all the different companies, and this is the two that popped up. Let's go over it, pros and cons for each. Which one do you decide? Okay, sign here, sign here. So now that we're going through, they've decided on one of those products, and we're going through the application. Any tricks of the trade that you can give anybody out there that maybe you've had an agent that you've been helping along in the past that had any issues with the application process, taking it?
So you should go into a phone call with the assumption that you're doing business. That's the first thing. What I've noticed is that salespeople that are uncomfortable with the closing process or the application process, that comes through, and in their mind, they want to get off the phone. They want to give them the information, but they want to get off the phone. So they'll go into the call or the presentation pushing for the next step, but they want to say, okay, I want to quote this person, not necessarily close them. It's perfectly fine to ask for the business or ask to do an application as long as you've gone through all your steps. But on the application process, you need to make it as simple as you can for the client. In some cases, you could have paper applications, and I get that. If your carrier or if your business allows it, try to switch that to DocuSign or something like that. If you can, Another great website is called Signed Seal. Both of those are really, really good websites. If your industry allows that, sometimes it needs to be a real signature, and I get that. But electronic applications, if at all possible, DocuSign would be the next best thing. Okay, so you want to make it simple. You can't have some big hurdles and things take your client through a process where they got to jump through hoops. You're just going to lose business that way in the application process. Well, and it's hard enough. It's a challenge enough just to get them to say yes. Once they say yes, the part to collect information and money needs to be very simple.
Yeah. Something I've helped agents with is rushing through the application process. And like you said, there is a desire to get off. But in rushing to do that, if you put down if you misspell a name, if you mix up two numbers, you're really asking for a headache later on. And of course, one way or another, they have an opportunity to review before they sign, and everybody should, but not everybody does. When it comes to the topic of insurance, not everybody wants to talk about insurance. I love talking about it. You love talking about it, but not everybody likes talking about it. So they just want to get this over with, and they just want to sign. But once it gets sent off to the company, any one of those errors, it's just going to be a big, heartache to fix later on. Then you got to go back to the client, say, hey, I messed up. I need your initials here, or whatever that process is to fix it. So taking a deep breath and slowing down, that even though it seems like it's taking forever on your end, a lot of times that client doesn't know that, how long it's really supposed to take. You may get stuck in your own head thinking, oh man, I'm going to lose them if I take any longer than 10 minutes. But that's just not the case. That
review at the end to make sure you have correct spelling, correct address, correct phone number, all that kind of stuff. That's only a moment or two. And if you do that, you prevent you from having to go back and fix something later on. The worst thing would be like, I'm at the doctor, my birthday's wrong. Oh, crud, now we got a big problem. Yeah.
Time flies when you're talking about something that you love. We've already had the episode, and we're halfway through the process that I really wanted to go with you. We're just now getting.
Well, that just means you got to come back, Brian.
Season 2, man. We're just now getting signatures. We haven't even sent it off to the company yet. We haven't gone through the process. We haven't followed up. Done any reviews. We haven't delivered we haven't done any of that yet, and we've already used our time. Is there anything that you think that just in the first half of a transaction with the client that we've gone over, that we've missed, that you've seen is so crucial that has really helped?
Absolutely. So one thing I talk about in my book, and I learned this back in retail, is we call it the pre-approach. And that's taking the time to walk your process through the customer's eyes before you ever see them. So think about what you need to be ready before you actually meet or talk to a client. Make sure all of that stuff is properly put in place to make your client's interaction simple. The best compliment I can get from a client is, wow, that was easy. That's what I shoot for. So that's the best, to my mind, that's the best closing technique, is make everything through that process as simple as possible for the client. Make sure your website looks good. Make sure your processes are down, your systems are down. If you're in a physical location, make sure it's clean. Salespeople are looking good. Your signage is up, your advertisements, all that stuff works, because the more hurdles you put your client through to get your product or service, the less likelihood you have to close it, or it's going to be harder to close.
Absolutely.
So how do our listeners get a hold of your book?
Yeah, so actually all my contact information, I made it really simple. It's just brianmckitrick.com, BRIAN, and the last name is spelled M as in Michael, CKITTRICK.com. There you'll have just some information about me, and below that you got buttons to get my book, visit my health or life insurance website, and see more information about me, and connect on social media too.
Yeah,
Really simple.
And if there's any, I'd expect nothing less from you, Brian. But yeah, if with your permission, we could put any link on our website under your episode to make it even easier for people to get a hold of you and get a hold of your book. We really appreciate your time today. That I really think we're going to have you on.
Yeah, we can do a part 2.
Part 2. So really appreciate it, guys. Brian McKittrick, to be continued. Thanks for coming up.
Thank you, Brian.
We'll see you next time. Guys, I really appreciated Brian going with the play-by-play, the step-by-step, and different things of ways to phrase. I liked assist over help. I liked asking for permission to ask questions. Great point. That is just one more yes along the way to 7 yeses. But going through the process that, and any little tricks of the trade and something that's so huge is just keeping things simple. Confused people don't make buying decisions, so keep it simple and hold their hand through the whole thing.
And it seems like potentially like a lot of tiny insignificant things, but when you start putting each one of these little pieces and tools into practice, that's how you become the master or the authority or the expert is you just do it so naturally and it's so polished.
It becomes a habit.
It becomes a habit, and that is what draws clients to you. That's how you attract recruits. That's how you attract. You are now that thing that they want to be.
Yeah, and then pretty soon you have that habit down, and it just becomes more of like a rinse and repeat sort of thing. It's saying that
becomes natural.
That one person helped next person helped next, and before you know it, you're putting up big numbers for whatever industry that you're in.
Boom, we're done. I'm out of here.
Yep. All right, everybody. That was the commission mission. We're on to bigger things. Make sure you tune in next episode where we're going to have even more amazing wisdom for you guys to have to make yourself better in everything that you do. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this episode of the Commission Mission. I hope you got a lot out of it. We need you guys to like, follow, subscribe, whatever that action is for the platform that you're watching it on, and please leave a review. That's a great way of giving us a compliment.
And if you're listening to this show and you're interested in working with a great team in either the financial industry or real estate, Mike and I have opportunities available for people to join our team. You can find us at livingthatcommissionlife.com and go to the Join Us tab.
Highland Finance, helping you prepare for life. The profit your business brings in should go to you, not accidents, injuries, and hurricanes. Do a policy review on your general liability and workers' comp today. Our proven track record helps our clients prepare for life. Call 850-359-5989. Highland Finance.